Hey guys, so today we got the announcement of the first proper teaser for Lanterns dropping tomorrow. Or no apparently, because some intern really effed up and the trailer got leaked along with the announcement. So as you know, it spread across Twitter, and in an effort to salvage the release and maybe ride the hype of the initial leaked trailer, HBO decided to drop it early. And it kind of was a good decision, to be honest, because it has a lot of people talking. And even though they might not be saying nice things, there's no such thing as bad press, I think. So let's talk about it. So what we know about Lanterns beforehand is that it stars Jon Stewart and an older Hal Jordan who is mentoring Jon as a new recruit to the Corps as they uncover a murder mystery buddy cop style. And I've always said this and was actually going to make a video on this before this whole situation happened. This is the most exciting DC project for me personally. Bringing the Lantern Corps to live action for the first time in 15 years, and also the creative team behind it is excellent, which we will dive deeper into when we break down the trailer. But they're coming off of Ozark and Watchmen, which are two very well received high quality shows. I think the grounded tone might actually be a good change of pace from the very spectacle heavy colorful Superman, and while Green Lantern is far from the first pick for a grounded, gritty, small-town murder mystery show, I was still intrigued because the Lanterns are the most spectacle-heavy, colorful side of DC, so the juxtaposition of putting them in this situation might actually lend itself to some creative storytelling. And I have hope that with James Gunn in charge, it won't be long until we see Green Lantern in their full glory in a live-action setting with colorful, galactic space adventures similar to Guardians and Superman, because James Gunn really likes that kind of storytelling. And now we have our first official proper look at how it all turned out. And let me just say, I like it! I love it! I know DC Twitter has its panties in a bunch and kind of erupted in negativity after this trailer, but I'm sorry, I liked it. I thought it was really compelling, and the leads look like they have a great dynamic and are doing a great job. Obviously, they're great actors, and I'm hooked on the story as well. I know you guys are all waiting for me to talk about the suit, which is the main thing people have been hating on, but let's break down the trailer and we'll get to that eventually. So the sequence with the car, we've already seen in the last kind of teaser, but we get some more dialogue, and I like this because it shows that Hal does trust Jon enough to save himself and is genuinely trying to help Jon unlock his powers. And this is just a very Hal thing to do in general. I'm really excited to see the sequence in the show itself because they don't really show how he survives, and it's going to be fun to see what construct he thinks of to save himself in that situation, which I personally think is because of the VFX still needing some work done, which is why we don't really see many powers during the whole trailer, because they might not be ready to show just yet. But we know what the constructs look like in the world of the DCU thanks to Superman and Guy Gardner, and they look amazing with all the campiness and creativity that comes along with them, and I just think they look perfect. So hopefully we see more of that in the show itself. Weirdly, Hal has sort of southern twang to his voice in this scene. I'm not sure why. It kind of comes and goes during this trailer. I don't know what kind of creative decision that was. Then we see the ring itself, which I personally really like the design. It kind of looks like an ancient, powerful artifact. It doesn't necessarily look too alien, which I'm fine with, but it has a lot of detail, and the emerald color I think is really well done. As for the small town setting, I personally like it. There's something about the set design and this shot in particular. I don't know why, but the coziness and slightly unsettling vibe, I think it really works well. I think it's very unique and interesting for a setting for a superhero adventure, especially a murder mystery. And I know people have an issue being very small scale, but I like it personally. I'm sure there's more to the story which leads them to end up here in this isolated town. And there's a shot of Hal at a crater site in a field, which might set up this whole story. And I know I'm usually a negative Nancy, especially if you follow me on Twitter, but everything about how the story is being set up with the gradual buildup of the trailer showing the stakes and the eventual destruction of the town, it really captured my interest and I'm hooked. Even the scenes at the school football field, I love the way this show is lit. I feel like it's not too dark, which is a hole that lots of these type of shows fall into, and it's not too like blurry and dark and gritty. Like, it's a very clear, well lit show, which I really like. And I know people are going to be nitpicky and call it cheap or CW or whatever, but I think it's personally well done, and this show could have easily given off CW vibes, but I think it doesn't, and I think it does look like a high quality production to me. I'm sure the crater might have something to do with a lantern ring, possibly the Red Lantern ring, because we see Paul Ben Victor playing Anton, whose description is very Atrocitus-like, and I could easily see him sort of slowly evolving into that role during the show. We don't see a shot of Sinestro in the trailer, I don't think so, but I hope that we see him in his full comic accurate glory with the pointy ears and the pink skin. I don't want him to just be a regular guy, because that would really suck the fun out of it completely, and I don't want it to be an origin story or see him maybe find the Yellow Lantern ring or get chosen. I want his rivalry with Hal to go way back and maybe see a flashback to his early days as the Green Lantern and his rivalry with Sinestro, because that's one of the great rivalries in DC, I think. Then we see a shot of the suit, which has been the main topic of conversation today around the trailer. People are saying blue lanterns and brown lanterns and how it looks ugly and cheap, and I think I'm in the massive minority when I think it looks kind of interesting to me. I think the logo itself looks great. I think the shoulders look great. And while yeah, the green could be a bit brighter, like I would personally want a comic book accurate look, but I definitely see what they were going for. My personal takeaway from this is that it symbolizes Hal himself. He is not the young Green Lantern anymore. He's not the main Green Lantern anymore. And with that, his bright green outfit has slowly faded into more of a muddier, browner look. He's older, he's grown, he's a bit cranky, and this is proven to me even more with how he pushes past his older costumes, which we can see, showing his sort of evolution, his growth. I think this is actually pretty well done and well communicated to the audience in this trailer, but if DC fans had any media literacy whatsoever, then we wouldn't be in this situation. Keep in mind, we haven't seen John's outfit yet, so I'm waiting to pass judgment until then, because that would completely disprove this theory if he has the same outfit. Then we see a conversation between Hal and John, which ends with Hal saying, "As long as I'm alive, that ain't changing," which foreshadows what many think is going to be his death at the end of the show. It has been heavily speculated that out of the knowledge of the premise of this show, it's going to be a Parallax story with Hal slowly succumbing to Parallax's will and being the surprise twist at the end behind it all, leading him to sacrifice himself or be killed to save the day. This theory is almost made more plausible because of this line, which I personally don't have an issue with, as I could see this being a very emotionally charged story with a very complex mystery revolving around Parallax and maybe Hal not even knowing that he's behind it all. We then also get a look at a few action set pieces, which I like to see, because while yeah, I'm interested in the small town story, I want my superhero projects to have action and colors and big explosions. Like, I want that part of myself to be satisfied as well. And it seems like it does have a fair bit of action, which I'm excited for. And this is probably where we will see them use their powers to make shields, to deflect gunfire. And I hope they just get a chance to show the creativity that comes with their powers. Chris Mundy has said that John's constructs are going to be based on creativity, while Hal just wants to hit everything with a big green fist, which I don't think is the most accurate description of their characters, because Hal has been known to be pretty creative with his constructs in the comics. These end with a shot of a bruised up Hal in the destroyed remains of the town, and we see a sort of explosion or pulse of energy, which seems to be from the finale, and it has me excited because it indicates that unlike a certain show that we saw, this is going to get the big budget, large scale climax that we're looking forward to. We also see a shot of Hal flying, which on one hand I like, because I've always had a pet peeve with superhero characters not using their powers like casually, like one would do realistically if they had powers. And it shows that yeah, Hal can just fly off. It doesn't always have to be this big deal when they use their powers, but it does look a bit underwhelming not having even a little green energy radiating off of him even when he lifts off, or any trail or anything, since I personally imagine the Green Lanterns would have maybe a glow of green or an aura behind them when they fly off. Hopefully it's just the VFX not being done and it's not just that they fly extremely boringly. We then see a scene of Hal intimidating someone, and just hearing him say Hal Jordan Green Lantern, I got chills, I'm just gonna say, and his delivery was so good. But I do want to see a flashback, or at least hear him talk about his heyday as the main Green Lantern, and I just want to know what Hal was like when he was the main Green Lantern of Earth, what threats he faced, his rivalry with Sinestro, which I mentioned, was he part of a prior iteration of the Justice League. I hope that there is some kind of flashback and we see him sporting a more comic book accurate suit and maybe fighting Sinestro. Also, I want him to mention Barry Allen, since their friendship is so integral to Hal as a character. Just him mentioning the name Barry, people would go nuts, and I need to see that. The trailer does kind of end on a bad note for me though, because Hal indicates he isn't very close with the other Green Lanterns because they are aliens, which couldn't be further from the truth because one of his closest friends and allies is an alien. I don't think Hal would ever say something like this, but we will see to what extent the Lanterns lore is expanded upon, and if this might be due to Hal having some sort of falling out with Kilowog and the other Lanterns. But yeah, that is something extremely out of character and kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So that was the trailer. We didn't really explore much of the superhero aspect of this show, but I'm hopeful they're saving it for the actual show itself, or until the VFX are done. I'm curious to see who most of the cast is playing, since that has been very hush-hush, and there are a lot of cast members and lots of people who are going to be cameoing too, and I want to see how all these characters factor into the Lanterns lore. I want to see who's actually playing Carol Harris, because I doubt they would just ignore her, especially when we're focusing on an older Hal. Hopefully not. We could see Atrocitus. There are rumors that someone is playing the Black Hand, Bleeze, Fatality, Saint Walker. There are so many characters who could show up for a cameo. I just hope they take the chance to explore the lore properly, since we have 8 episodes to do it. So yeah, let me know your thoughts below. Let me know how excited you are for this, and I'll see you in the next video.